And here we are at Era Stories again. Today I'm really excited to have an interview with one of my favorite photographers. He is the epitome of cool. I know he doesn't look like it sitting there, but he really is. The incredible, the one and only Michel Haddi.
Thank you, young man.
Thank you, yes.
Makes me happy to chit-chat with you.
I know, and we're in New York. We have been around the world a few times.
And that's the beauty about it's always a center point. It's New York City. So I'm back, and I'm going to be gone tomorrow, and I'll be back, and that's it. And we'll meet ever in Paris, London, New York, or whatever.
I'm looking forward to that. So let's do our interview today until the next time we meet. Where do you think I'm going to start somewhere else for a moment. Where is the fashion capital of the world for you right now?
Oh, it's for me the best place really, or the capital of the world. It's whatever the story I have in mind. I mean, I can tell you what for me. It's right now, right then. It may be Malcolm X Boulevard. Don't ask me why. Malcolm X Boulevard is the place. Yeah. And when I go to London tomorrow, because I have to go to Paris, I'm going to say, oh, I want to do a story in Paris, and that's the capital. I mean, we think only for today. That's all. Today. So that's it.
Well, you've always been someone that has been a cool finder. I say, you know, as I've been in this business 4 decades. How many decades you've been?
Roughly the same since 1978.
Yeah, we started around the same time. We started with Franca Sozzani at the same time. You were one of Franca's discoveries. But let's go back to the beginning. I want to go back to the beginning with you. Where were you born?
I'm born in Paris. When I say how old I am, 56. So I'm nearly 70, guys. So get on with it. Make sure that you have a flat stomach. That's the only thing.
That's true. That's true. That's
the only thing. Now,
we are not going to be the fat guy at the party.
Exactly. And it's all real.
Yeah.
So my mom is Algerian, Moroccan, Turkish, and Tatar, and my dad, which I don't know, is French, and I've been raised in an orphanage because my mom couldn't take care of me, and she did not know how to write and read, and that's it. And after the age of 9, she took me back, and I lived in the west suburb of Paris, like a place you don't want to go. And,
but you learn there.
Yeah.
But you learn.
Yeah.
But you don't learn in college. You will learn there.
And then that's it. When I was 18, 19, I went to Saudi Arabia. When I was 20, I wanted to be an artist anyway because I saw misery, I saw hatred, I saw gangs and so forth. And I said, well, if I keep it that way, I'm going to be a terrific gangster, and I will die by the time I'm 30. So I got a job in Saudi Arabia. And working in construction, I made a lot of money. I took the money, and I went to England, and I became the assistant of a photographer.
Working in construction,
like
lifting, building the pyramids, like
no, building houses, and at the same time I understood, how you can make the moves, and I became the assistant of a foreman. So it means that I was doing I was going and buying the goods for the company and so forth, and I used to make a lot of cash on the side. And then I got a job in Iran, in Iran to build a.
And what year was this?
77.
Wow, 77 in Iran. That was not a happy place necessarily.
No, this is beautiful. So in Iran, which Michael, it was a terrific job. I was going to take care of 2,000 people because I was going to be the assistant again of a foreman, the same guy. And I calculated already how much money I was going to be there. But I suddenly saw Khomeini going to Iran, and I said, it's going to be a big problem. So I declined, and a few weeks later, I saw the Iranian revolution, and so forth, and I was right. I got the money, and I went to England. Because it was all sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and I said, I'm going to have a good time.
My guy.
That's it.
And then how did you get into photography from that?
Because I was an assistant of a photographer called Ben Lee, and he was in Covent Garden, and at the time where it was Steve Strange, the kids from Lit, but you too, you went there at the time, and we had a Ziggy shop, the agency, And me, I was an assistant, and I became an assistant for a couple of years. And after I share my studio, I share a studio, and from that on, now we are back in 1981, I think, something like that. And I started to work. I worked for 21, and because I'm very straightforward, I will go every week to see Vogue.
Those were the days when you could just show up somewhere or get an appointment. You can't even do that anymore. That's one of the sad things I think about the industry now. It's so hard to get an appointment.
Yeah.
It was so easy before. Back in the day, you could, they would call, the agency would call, or somebody would know somebody, you could have an appointment. It's just so hard to just even meet somebody to discuss an idea now. I think it's very interesting along the way, especially for a certain group of people like ourselves. There's always these meccas where the cool people go, like Ziggy's agency. Like, you just find it, and you find like-minded people. Now, we have a lot of cool people in our business. We have a lot of less cool people that are more money-oriented. Some are more creative. But really cool people, like Patricia Field here in New York.
Yeah.
The cool people, you came to New York, you just found it. Like, it's one of the most fascinating things I think I hear constantly is about Pat Field or Ziggy. That people just end up there because you're drawn. It's like a mecca for cool, and you're like, my people are there.
Magnet. It's like I remember when I was a young photographer, so I worked for what's his name? The magazine of David Bailey. Did a couple of pages. I used to do pages there and there. But I had a mentor, a guy called Victor Herbert.
Oh, really?
And Victor Herbert used to be a very well-known fashion designer at the time, and he introduced me to everybody, the people from Vogue, Bazaar, and so forth. And then, because I was doing tests with an agency at Models One, and it was two women, April and Josie, they were the owner, and they were very sweet to me. They helped me tremendously, and this is after a while I was able to know the people, but my pictures for them in England at the time, they were too, wow.
You were edgy. You were edgy. Edgy was the word, right?
So they said, Michel, you should go to Italy. And that's why after I went to Italy, and then they were very happy to look at my works.
And Franca.
And Franca.
And Franca, she sees it as, it's so interesting when you find your people, when you find your gente, or, like, they see it. And suddenly you get to bloom. Someone like Franca was really incredible. Again, like a Pat Field, like a Ziggy. They just were cool finders, like yourself. There were certain photographers along the way that just found the cool people and did different things. I think now, what was so different then is almost mainstream now. So I feel like the cool things kind of get lost now. There's not as much.
Well, what Phillip, you are saying, which is very interesting, is nowadays you have to be normal. Because every program, I went lately on Gemini. Gemini, you ask a question to do something or whatever, or to do a business plan. If you use a bad word, they said, I don't know, I don't want to answer. Yeah, it means that now everything has to be very, very straightforward all around. It has been a manipulation extremely clever. When you look at the pictures from the 70s, 80s, 90s, all over the world, even the American magazine, they were totally, I mean...
Well, the American magazines have always been boring compared to European magazines.
Yeah, but I did some stories, let's say for interview.
Oh, yeah.
An interview with Fabien Baron, Fabien Baron, Ingrid Sichi. Some of the stories, even now, I'm looking at them and I said, what the bleep, bleep, bleep. They were, American had a way, even now, they have a way of being disruptive. It's maybe a bit subtle,
yes,
yeah, but they do it. And, but it's never going to be like we, French, we can talk freely about sex,
yes,
or whatever. You guys in America, it's like complicated, you cannot do this, you cannot do that. But I look at all the body of my work, I mean, I can assure you, in America, I did some images like with actors, actresses, and I pushed the bottom in America.
I love the Cameron Diaz picture with my pussy, our pussy, our
Yeah.
choice. You know, like, you know, that's very forward for America. When did you shoot that?
90s, in my studio in Los Angeles.
Well, you got to work with David Bowie. I mean,
Yeah.
there's nobody, but there is an influencer. There is a creative, really. Did you work with him a lot, right?
With David, no, we work only once.
On the
But-
interview cover.
Yeah, the interview and story inside. It's with Iman I work a lot. You know.
Ah,
I
yes.
love Iman.
The ultimate chic.
Yeah.
She is chic down. Like
And you see the interesting thing, because I had a contract with British Vogue. They sometimes they will come up with ideas like, Queen of Soul, Michel. You're gonna do the Queen of Soul, and me, I said, all right. So you're gonna shoot some of them in London, then you're gonna go to New York, then you're gonna go to Detroit, then you're gonna go to LA, and they will give me American Express, which might call checks.
yeah.
I will go on my own, and I will work with whoever I wanted to work with, and I will come back 3 weeks later.
Right.
The whole story will cost maybe 25,000, but they will have for Christmas an issue with all the Queen of Soul. And the magazine at the time, they had the power and the intelligence to send guys like us in places in the US or whatever. And I look at all my archive now, and I said, yeah, I did the right thing. And the image are strong. I've never been interested to do some average image. Otherwise, I would have stayed in Saudi and I would have been a gangster, for sure. I have no interest with average. Like even now when we work together, yeah, the picture that I did of you and the young girl, what's her name? Sandy, they are dynamite. I mean, do you know what I'm saying? And
Well, that was a great shoot. We did a shoot recently at the Chelsea Hotel, the newly renovated Chelsea Hotel where Michel has been in residence. And we did a great shoot, and it was really fun because we did Cara Young, Alana Ogilvy, Renee Cox, who's an artist, Sandy, who's a young girl, a new model to the industry. It was so nice to have the different generations there.
absolutely.
And I think what's interesting now is, you know, you've kind of found a way to go beyond the magazine since there is no Père Louis and Lay anymore. There are no real Franca Sotzanis, and you've taken on publishing yourself.
Yeah, I have a publishing house, and I understood that at the end, I want to have fun. I just want to do whatever I want to do. I don't want anybody telling me, well, maybe you have to be straight. And like the one that we are working on, the New York story, is like I'm going to take images from the past, from the 90s, 2000 that I did in New York, or why not, and the new one. And the last one that I did yesterday, it was in Malcolm X Boulevard, and I photographed only the sign, the street sign. Why? Because I work with the daughter of Malcolm X. So Malcolm X Boulevard, and next to which might call the daughter of Malcolm X. And nowadays, in 2025, 26, people have to take into their hand and decide where they want to go. For photographers, they have to put project out there. They cannot wait, because many photographers, and especially many photographers of my generation, they wait by the phone that the phone will ring. Me,
you waiting for?
Like I said, I go to the gym every day. I box every day, and funny enough, before I came to see you, my coach, Carl Greaves, called me from London. Like this, I'm telling him that I will be there Thursday morning, you know. And
I'm ready.
because it's very important to be focused. And what we did, it makes me very happy. It's like, it's going to be fresh, fabulous, and it's all about New York.
Well, and I think it's very interesting because you're one of those people that you do films, you do music, you do your own magazine, you're creating books. You really have been able to just keep creating and doing different things. What do you enjoy the most? Is it the film, the music, the photo? Or do you enjoy it all equally, kind of?
Now, Phillip, what you are saying, it's very interesting. I understood the concept, like when you work in a magazine, if you're a creative director, you're gonna receive from everybody film, photograph, music, and everything, and you say, oh, that's terrific music, I want to put it in the magazine, I want to have an article. So this is one day I said, listen, you're very good with your hand to do blobs or whatever. So it's an extension of what I have in mind. Why? Because music, for example.
Yeah.
I like one kind of music, dance and electronic.
He does. Go on YouTube. Go on YouTube.
Dance and electronic. Now, why? Because I need this kind of music when I work. Now, film, I had the pleasure to work with people like Tim Burton or Francis Coppola, and I always made film since 1987. Film, I'm talking, not just advertising. And in 2 months' time, I'm bringing out the new film that I'm doing, all in AI. Everything in AI. It's only 12 minutes. But films, it's a part of my photographs, so it's important. Then I write music. I like to write. I like to write screenplay. And I believe an artist has to be on all the time. It's a machine. We need to produce all the time.
Well, in different things. I think, that's what our kind of shared passion is, that, like I work as a stylist, I work as a model, I work as a designer, I work in TV. I think they are all connected, and some people see them as separate, but I think those that really have a lasting success are those that really understand that they're all coming together. And recently I've seen a lot more, friends of mine were working at Ebony when they took it over. And it was fascinating. They made the covers digital and they moved. And to me, that's the future of fashion. Like a still stagnant magazine seems so still and stagnant in 2025. Things move, life moves, fashion moves, people move. And you see so much more about someone when they move. So I love that you're able to not even just keep up with the time, but you're ahead of the time, and that you always have been. Who are, like, working with someone like Tim Burton and Francis Ford Coppola, what have you learned from them? I like to take things from the people I work
but
with.
that's what, like I said, I met people like Sam Fuller, one of the greatest directors of the 40s and 50s, and he told me something which stuck in my head. He says, the only thing interesting is facts. Number 1, number 2, and number 3. Okay. And he made a great movie in Hollywood. Then when I work with Coppola, or even better, why not talk about a New York story? When I work with Martin Scorsese, I photographed him here. And I go to his office, and I'm a big fan of his work. But as well, something very specific that maybe not many people know. He works with a woman called Thelma Shoemaker. Now, she is the editor of all his movies. But
yes.
But Thelma was married to Michael Powell, who was an English director, and I was a big fan of that guy. He made a movie called Peeping Tom in the 60s, and because he made that movie, his career stopped. Everybody wanted to, because the movie is really something,
Peeping Tom.
You have to watch it.
I like the title.
What's her name? Thelma. When I talked to her about all of this, she looked at me, she said, oh my God, you know a lot. So she gave me a book. Anyway, putting that aside, Scorsese, I understood the concept of being, grand, like Italian opera, or like Coppola the same. And then operatic, that's operatic. And then I put that inside my mind for my photograph, operatic. And Tim Burton, what I love about him, it's totally off center, he's off the books, he's off every channel what you can imagine, and he's a poet, and he looks dangerous. It's very dangerous, this movie already. And again, I absorb, and eventually I will maybe put a little bit of it, you know. Why do I say that? Because I have no interest whatsoever to do an image which has, what's the point?
Yeah.
What's the point? I prefer to, I don't know, having 5 people with grass cut on the head and walking in a field of yellow flower. What is the name again?
Sunflowers.
Sunflowers. That's it. Like
Girasole.
yeah, like Tim Burton will do.
Yeah.
Everybody teach me something. You teach me things. Everybody, and but so many people, they are so insecure and so into themselves, they don't see the beauty of everybody. I'm looking at you, I'm looking at all the models
Yes.
here and everything.
Yeah, on the other side, we have the whole wall of composites that we look at all these beautiful girls from major models on when we do the interviews.
That's the point.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? If
Beauty
you-
is where you find it. Beauty is where you find
You
it.
have to look at, you have to look around and accept, and not think too much about the girl on the background, but there is no meaning. If you look at the work of Newton, Bourdin, I'm going to say something beautiful from a photographer who passed away, and he was with my gallery in Milan, Gianpaolo Barbieri.
Oh, wow, yes.
And Gianpaolo came to see my show in Milan on a wheelchair. He had dementia, he couldn't talk much, and I always loved his work. And at the time, so last year, I'm not like 15 years ago, last year, 89 or something like that, or 91, I don't remember, and I kissed his hand and I said, you know, Maestro, grazie mille, to come here to see my show and everything. And he was very, like a child, he was looking at all my images and everything, and after in Italian he said, tu il maestro. Now,
That's really nice. That's a compliment. I mean, for those who don't know, Gianpaolo Barbieri was amazing. He really knew how to get the angles, and the energy is
energy, that's the word.
yeah, the energy. Like I feel like you could, and even in a still photo, again, because we go back to, we come from generations where everything was still. We weren't even shooting backstage videos or anything in our shoots. You know, in the 80s and 90s, it really wasn't until the end of the 90s where you started shooting some video, and that even became really more with the celebrities.
No, what you are saying is very interesting. I remember when I used to have my studio in Los Angeles, and I said to my assistant, I said, you know what? Guy Bourdin back in the 60s used to have a small camera, you know, Kodak, whatever, and he filmed the model. I said, the future, like this, the future is going to be fashion movies.
Yeah.
And my assistant, Don Alfano, said, Michel, what is this? I said, okay, go and buy me a camera, a small camera, you know, where you have to process the film, you know.
Yeah.
And we're gonna make film, so we did film on Gwyneth Paltrow, I did film on Eric Roberts, on Talisa Soto, on Tatiana, and I have a film, a real film. And nowadays, everybody wants to do fashion film. 90%, I don't see the point, because it's like an extension of a shoot. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Now, when the clients, they ask me, and I'm blessed, they ask me to shoot the film and the photos.
Oh,
and
wow.
I tell them, I say, no, in the beginning, it's going to be my idea, my point of view and everything for the photos, and you want somebody else coming and filming what I'm doing? We're crazy or what?
Yeah, of course.
No, it's too
I mean, that happens often, but to really get the full effect, you need your eye for both. I mean, otherwise it becomes this generic video shoot.
You just said it. It's going to end up like a generic video. If I'm shooting you like this and you're on the side like that, and your hand posed perfectly, but if I have a movie, then the camera is filming that way and there. How somebody else knows about that?
Of course.
Only me knows, but I have to be coming there and here.
You're one of those photographers that likes the perfect imperfections. You're not somebody that says, oh, fix that wrinkle, fix that, you really don't.
You're good. I mean, you're good. Because not many people saw that in my work.
Well, you're raw. It's about being raw, and the images are raw. They're the reality of what is, as opposed to you create a fantasy, but you keep the original, which is raw.
Something very important. If you want to believe the truth, you have to put inside a bit of lie. Vice versa the same. It means that if you do a beautiful picture, always tell everybody, assistant, I said, okay, you see this picture, it's perfect. Now, let one thing go, which is not really perfect, and the whole image will be terrific. An example, because I always have to give example, because sometimes they say, I don't understand. Okay. You're going to take Linda Evangelista. You're going to take her face, yeah, and you're going to take the left side, and you're going to duplicate the left side to the right side. Now, she's perfect. She has two perfect sides. And I said, do you like her like that? And many people will say, oh yeah, she's very nice looking. Now look carefully. You take the left side the way it is, you take the right side, which is slightly off the left side. Yeah. But when you put the two together, which is her face now, she's absolutely amazing. Yeah. A natural mistake made Linda Evangelista look amazing. But now, if you put everything perfect, well, it's gone. The magical moment is gone.
Yes, yes. Well, there's, what is that they say? So, like, the left side is your kind of evil side, and the right side is the good side? Because there is definitely, most people, when you literally look at the two sides of their faces, you're like, wow, and you can see it. There's like, when it comes together, oh, there's the face, I know, but when you look at one and the other, you're like, wow. And there really is kind of like a happier and a sad, or a good and an evil. I mean, it really is interesting, because they are two different feelings on the side of the face. And looking at you in this moment, you don't see it. But the minute if I went like that or like that, I would see two completely different
person. But that's why I said, it's not that my work is raw, but I like to provoke. I mean, I love to put something in the image where the people, after a while, they didn't realize. Example again, because I love to give example. So I do a shooting with what's her name, Winona Ryder, and the picture I wanted to have Marilyn Monroe with black hair, and she's fabulous and everything. And at one point I said to Winona, I said, darling, listen, what about if you take your two thumbs and you push your belly button like this, and between your other fingers you can have some a lollipop. Oh, she loves it. And I take a close-up of this, and Ingrid, she and Fabien Baron, they put it in the magazine. But now when you look at the page, it doesn't look anymore like a belly button, because it's closed and there is a couple of hair, you know, and I love it. Oh no, it's like
the power of suggestion. Well, speaking of muses, you've worked with some of the best. I love this idea. And who are some of the most collaborative models that you've worked with that really bring something to the picture? Because we all know, you know, you're hired because you're pretty, but you get asked back because you bring something extra to the picture.
The first one who was very, and that's funny because even if she was very young, in a natural grace, by doing very little, she was a kind of a muse, you know. It's Kate Moss.
Kate Moss,
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, she disrupted my shooting in LA. She like, you know, she came. When I was shooting an actress, and she came, and it was all palaver problems with the actress and everything. But she had a natural way of being. I cannot explain, and she was goofy. I didn't hang out much with her. Why? Because I had a life, and I worked with other people, and she had her life. She was in England, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I worked with her.
She was probably with Johnny at that point.
No. She was still with the photographer Mario Serrano.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But the one which had a long time relationship. It's Verushka.
Ah, wow, really?
Yeah. And Vera brought a lot of things.
Well, her body.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, now in the industry, I have a part in that. You know, in Kate, the shorter models. It used to be you had to be this 6 foot something. The girls had to be 5'11", and then suddenly the industry changed with Ziggy and that agency and myself and Kate. People like us were a little smaller, a little different proportions, but you cannot beat someone like Verushka. That body is just poetry in motion.
Yeah, but you explained it very well, but many photographers didn't understand. So she used to tell me when she first came to New York, she called directly Avedon, Penn, and she told them bluntly, I'm calling you, I like to know what you can do with me. My name is Vera von den Dorf. Anyway, I worked a lot with Vera, and it was fabulous, because she had always ideas. And the one was a very, very cool game, which I work a lot, was Yasmine Lebeau.
Really? Oh, so
Yasmine,
beautiful.
she
So
always come up with
beautiful.
ideas. And then after...
Interesting, I never think of her as that kind of model.
yeah, before.
You know, I think of Veronica Webb in that way, Leslie Weiner. They really just bring an edge or something to the photos. But I never think of Yasmine as that way because she's just so pretty.
Yeah, but she was very good and she was up for game. And funny enough, the other one which I had pleasure, there is another one, Iman. I worked 3 or 4 times and very good. After I worked with a lot of girls, but you see, it's very complicated when, why am I talking about that? When you are heterosexual photographer, when you work with girls, when you start to have a relationship with a model, it's very kind of, for the heart, time consuming. You know why? Because eventually, guess what? You fall in love.
Yeah.
You fall in love, that's for sure.
Luckily, being gay, I just get infatuated. It's easier for me to move on.
But that's why there is a lot of gay photographer, because there is not, they don't have the same feeling.
Yeah.
We, me, I'm a straight guy, it's a problem.
Well, it's interesting because we worked with somebody recently, and you had said to them, "Oh, we never worked in our career together." Oh, because and actually 2 of the girls we had worked with, and you said, "Oh, well, you were dating so and so, and you were dating so and so," and honestly, because they were dating a different photographer, you're like, "Eh,
I can't. I mean,
I ain't fucking somebody else's bitch," basically.
the Cara Young, that's the best example.
He said it, I didn't, Cara.
That's the best example. When I saw Cara, I said, what the fuck? You see? Voila. Now, my heart, you know, but I knew she was going out with Sante. That's it. Because it's like, she's the woman of another photographer.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's nothing, you cannot explain why it's not going to work.
It's like, oh, someone else's wife, I don't want to date him. It's good.
It's something else too. Now, if I started to work with Cara a lot, guess what? Santé will be obviously, that's normal, upset. Now, I will work a lot with Cara and do big campaign and everything, and Santé will be very upset. So I will put, which I call oil, water on oil. You know?
Yeah.
So,
well, I think interesting in that note, and you'd probably find the same, the pictures that Sante did of Cara when they first kind of met. You can see the sensuality, the sexuality, the connection between, and the pictures of her and Christy, because they have such a, Christy Turlington, Cara and Christy both grew up in California. They've known each other since they were young girls. That energy was not smoldering, it was boiling. Like when I still look at those pictures, you're like, oh, that was sexual energy.
You just said it. So,
and interesting because, you know, we live in these times now where everything is so rigid and everybody Me Too and they talk about all this Me Too stuff, and now we have all this. This is a business of sensuality and sexuality.
Me,
it's like pretending you don't like candy and we're in the candy store, you know?
I've been raised in an orphanage and Catholic, and I have values, very, very strong values. And And plus, when I was in the orphanage, I can assure you, the priest, the nun, raping boys, and so, you know, I saw it live, so
Wow.
I know. Now, did I reproduce that? Certainly not. Now, when I was, even now as a photographer, you know, so many times, it was always that much, but an affair with a girl, a model, because she wanted to have an affair, and I'd be the one saying, you know what, darling, forget about it, you have a boyfriend, so, you know, that's it. We are in a world of sensuality, and I work with a ton of actresses. I mean, I give the story with Faye Dunaway. So
oh my gosh, we could share those stories.
Yeah, but this one is very good. So I work with Faye, and so I only have, because I knew that, only have woman hairdresser, hairdresser, makeup, only woman. Because she likes to be the center of attention.
Yeah.
Now, at the time I have long curly hair, and so I wear, so the makeup artist is Joe Strater, very sweet, and she makes da 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 da, and every time she comes, Michel, it's too much, I can't. I say, come on, darling, let's see. And at one point, Joe started to cry. So I go in the room, and I look at Faye, and I said, Faye, what's that? Michel, how do you find me? I said, darling, let me tell you something. You are amazing, so great looking, but what are you doing tonight? I take you out. And she looks at me, she said, really? I said, yes, I'm going to take you out, darling. I mean, you're absolutely, that's what she wanted to hear. She wanted to hear the point of view of a heterosexual guy.
Heterosexual, exactly.
Who says, I like to take you out tonight. And whatever.
Take you out. She's like, ah. But going back to that, interesting that you mentioned Faye and Kate Moss. 10 years ago, and in my office in New York, I pulled up all these pictures of Faye Dunaway because I've worked with Faye many times since really kind of the beginning of my career and off and on. And she is really a diva. She is a diva with an extraordinary character of crazy. It is the best of the best. Like, she is a movie in herself. But the interesting thing is, I have these pictures of her from Chinatown, and I showed them to the movie Chinatown, which she is probably one of the most beautiful women of all time in that moment in her life.
Yeah.
You know, they just didn't make them after that, like Ursula Andress coming out of the water, Faye Dunaway in Chinatown, Jessica Lange in The Postman. There was a sensuality and beauty in those women that just has not been replicated in the decades of that. But funny, showing the girls, the interns that were working for me at the time, and they all looked at the pictures like, oh yeah, I love Kate Moss. I'm like, well, that's not Kate Moss. But right? You've seen that too. They love to do Kate like Faye Dunaway in Chinatown, and I think it's fascinating. With beauty, I'm wondering if you've seen this. I find that almost every decade or two, you see a repeat of a kind of beauty. Like Michel Bercu, then came Gigi Hadid. It repeats. Bonnie Berman, and then came a couple girls after her that looked like Bonnie. Oh my God! And in the early '80s, Natasha Kinski, Laura. There were all those girls that had the covers at the same time. They all looked like Natasha Kinski, or what was the other girl? Alexis Singer, maybe. I can't even remember. But they all looked the same. You know, there is a type of beauty that seems to.
I even will say. I would say something else. It's called an osmosis effect. It means. Let's say in the 70s, 80s, you have a certain amount, a certain look on girls, guys, whatever, even photographs or movie. Now, it's set in the mind of a director of agency or agents in Hollywood. They know that we fade away, we made a lot of money. Okay, so we need to find girls looking like Faye Dunaway, because the public, will feel that they've seen her before. The parents will say, "Oh yes, and so they are always trying to find similar looks. Nowadays, who looks like Paul Newman? it's going to come to my head, some actors, now models, like you mentioned so well, Gigi, she looks like Michaela a bit, and on and on and on. If you look at Veronica Way back then, who looks like Veronica now?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Interesting.
No, it's an osmosis effect, which it's as well a financial point of view too. You know, it's a smart.
Yeah, I didn't think. I never think of it in the financial. I always think of it in the business. Here's an interesting one. Since you are a bad boy, let's talk about the bad boy and the bad girl effect in the industry. It's very interesting that now less, but in the 80s, especially Gia, Leslie Weiner, Bitten, like they were bad. Not bad as in they're not good, but bad like they just were wild. They were misbehaved, they were wild, they were edgy, and whatever you want to call it. And we see that in, in the industry. It's always about the Kurt Cobains, the Amy Winehouse. The industry loves a broken bird, so to speak. And how do you find that with working, with casting? Because I know you're attracted to that personality as well,
Well, I've been there too. I mean, I told my boys once, I said, guys, listen, I adore you, I love you. I took all the drugs in the world and everything, so please don't forget about it. And working wise, I see, I work with Leslie. I had to wait 5 hours, because she was in the bathroom.
Oh, yeah.
I work with hairdresser. Like I had to ask him politely to go home because he needed the same movement for God like this. Now, I met, sure, a lot of models and this, but I'm bad, and that comes from the creative director of Vogue in England, John Hine, who passed away from AIDS, and he did help me tremendously to change my way of being. He says, Michel, I know that you like to be bad, but now do me a favor, why don't you get really bad in your work? In your work, but not on you. I said, what? Yeah, be bad, really bad in your work. Okay, and I understood one concept. Okay, this is where I'm gonna go. That's why I don't need to be, I prefer to walk away from problems. I don't like to argue much because I'm
well, your personality is really nice and really mean. So I'm literally the same. I'm like, when I leave the house, I'm like, oh dear God, please don't let anybody start with me today because they're going to get it. You know what I mean? I know. We're really nice if you're really nice. The day's going to go how you bring it.
How you're going to shape.
Yeah.
And that's what John taught me. And so I go totally insane and crazy in my work, my music. My wife, Sarah, that you met, she said, she said, I cannot believe what you're doing. But on the same time, she said, I didn't expect less from you. It means everything that I do, she said. And she's happy because I'm true to myself, you know what I'm saying? It's not weak. Like the album that I released, Hollywood Boulevard, if you listen to the songs, you say, Michel, you have been smoking too much weed or this. No, it's like it comes naturally. Now I'm writing the song for what we did, New York story, and it's all about different place in New York, But it's going to be bad. I mean, I show you what I'm writing.
Sometimes it's good to be bad. One last thing I want to talk about because we're getting to the end of our time. So as we get older, physically things start to change. You and I both have a little bit of a vision problem now. Yeah. And it's so interesting because everything we do is attached to what we see. And yet, we still are able to function the same. Even though I don't see as clearly, sometimes we have to say, is this in focus? But we can still almost, I feel like I feel it.
It's a different story now. You don't need to see, but what you do, you need to feel.
Yeah.
So now I feel, and I know that I'm on the right path or not. Now, like you've been training all your life, and you are making sure that your body is fit. Now you have a choice. at your age or my age, it's to have a fat stomach, you know.
And no dates,
yeah,
or...
Yeah. Or to be in a super shape.
Yeah.
And fine, it's a lot of work. Now, glasses, no glasses, or whatever, doesn't matter. As long as you feel where you're going.
Yeah.
And sometimes I do a job, and it makes me laugh because I put the light here on the ceiling, and the model is over there. Now the assistant, they look at me and they say, whoa, 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 whoa. You're putting the light there and there. I said, forget about it. You'll see. Tack, 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 tack. They look at the picture and they say, oh, it looks fabulous. I said, who cares to put the light there or there? What I wanted is for you and the girl to think that I'm totally insane and she's going to be thinking about something else, and that's what I want. I just wanted to surprise her. But at the end of the day, the light was perfect. I mean, when you know what, you've been doing that for 45 years, at the end, you just want to have the feeling of it.
It's all about the vibe and the feeling.
Because I'm blind as a bat, so I need
Exactly, I sometimes too, I'm like, you know, unfortunately, I always used to say, big attention, God is in the details, big attention to small details. Now I don't miss the small details in what I'm doing, but I miss them in what I'm seeing.
Well, I don't know, but you mentioned something that I've been telling Sarah. I said, even in life, whatever you are, in a restaurant, whatever you do, pay attention to small details. So what you said, knowing you, at the end of the day, you always will pay attention to a small detail. I mean, if this is like that, instead of like this, you will spot right away, and you say, well, it's better that way, like this. Small details makes us different from other people. Example, if you take people at the CIA or CIA, best example, those guys, they're gonna look for a small, tiny details that many, and me as a photographer and you with all the career that you have, small, very small things make you move quicker. That's it.
Well, it's sad because I think now, first I want to say one thing. We were saying about the feeling. I worked with Selma Hayek many, many times, and one of my favorite things, you know, she's very tiny. One time we're shooting her for InStyle, and she's low down in the seat, and the hairdresser comes in and says, I'm going to do your hair like this. And she's like, okay, okay. And she's doing whatever she's doing, and then at a certain point, just out of nowhere, and she'd been in the chair like an hour already, she said, I don't know what you're doing, but I don't like the way it feels, and I know it isn't going to look good. And she stood up, and she looked, and she said, nope, da-da-da, do this, do this, do this, do this, and everything changed. It was so funny. And I love that about her, because I think you have to let the creatives be creative. Because they're used to what they do and they know what they're doing, but there comes a point as a talent or as somebody who just knows their body and is aware of their body, you know, she was like, wait a minute, she was doing whatever she was doing, and then all of a sudden she's like, wait a minute, this doesn't feel right and I don't like it. And I noticed with a lot of the girls like Hallie and Selma, you can put a dress on them, they don't even have to look in the mirror, they go, oh, this is the one, right?
You work with Ali Berry?
Yeah.
Okay. So I work with, it's very interesting with Ali, I work with Ali. And my ID, and that's very funny that you mentioned, it was for Vibe magazine. Okay. And she's half English, right?
Yes.
So I wanted her to look like not a school girl, obviously, but a college girl. Yeah. So I dressed her up like a college girl, you know, because she's British, and she looks so sexy now. George Pitt passed away so long. George, he looked at the picture and said, well, our black women don't look like that. I said, oh, whoa, George, listen. I'm French, so I don't see any of these things. And she's a beautiful girl. And that's it. Oh, it goes on and on and on. 2 months later, he calls me back and said, oh, thank you so much. Our readers loved it. I said, George, I told you, like any man, whatever is white, black, is going to look at this beauty and period, you know, that's it.
Well, we are about to wrap up, so what should we tell the people to look for next? What do you look for next from Michel Haddi? Where do we find the music? Where do we find the New York stories? When's that coming out? where's the next movie that you're going to be writing, producing, and directing, and that I'm going to be starring in, because I'm ready for my close-up.
The best way is to go on Michel Haddi Studio on Instagram. The news are there coming every day, so you will get. And I'm going to do something interesting. It's like
you always do something interesting.
No, but this, I'm going to have a film. It's called Hollywood, and it's 15 minutes. And the movie, people will. It's going to be like if you go on Amazon, you can download the film for £1 or $1 or $2. That's it.
Money well spent.
Yeah, that's it. $2. I think that people can.
You can afford it.
Yeah.
More better than going to the theater.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Michel, thank you for joining us today,
Thank you.
Let's make some more creative progress. Let's do some more things, break some rules.
Break some.
And thank you for joining us on Era Stories. Thank you to the team here at Major Models and Era Models.
Thank
Come
you.
and join us for the next one.
Thank you, guys. It was a pleasure, and I see you soon in my country.
The world is your country.